Welcome to Growing Pains, a podcast of the Sumner County Republican Freedom Caucus. I'm your host, Deanne DeWitt. Today we are joined by the pastor of CIL Church, a man that is wise beyond his years, a very thoughtful voice in civic matters, former member of the Gallatin City Council, Pastor Dr. Aaron Allison. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much.
I am thrilled that you are here with us today. We are kicking off 2026 with you as our first guest, and I just don't think it could be any more fitting. So I'm thrilled.
Well, I'm honored to be here, and I love the positive message you're putting out to the community. So thank you so much.
Well, you have a lot to offer on these conversations. I feel like I think of you in a lot of the preparation, a lot of the conversations. So really, this is extremely rewarding for me. You wear a lot of leadership hats: pastor, professor. Is professor the right title?
Sure, instructor.
Yeah. Instructor, professor. I still like professor. So pastor, okay. Professor, councilman. You are a student, or not a student of history, but you know and you've studied history and government and international policy. So you have such a broad. This is where I say you're wise beyond your years. You have such a depth and breadth of knowledge, and you are able to frame things in a way that I think is just. I marvel at it. So,
thank you so much. I'm not sure if that's true, but I like hearing it. So thanks for saying it.
It is very true. I'm certain of it. So tell us, is there a core tenet or a core principle that ties together these different roles?
Yeah, that's a wonderful way to start this, because I am grateful for the different opportunities I've had. And I think that the genesis of that, or the heart of that, is that people are valuable. And as a pastor, part of our Christian theology is we're made in the image of God. And so people being made in the image of God means that leadership matters. Leadership makes a difference. And so if the Lord has a different role for me, obviously being a pastor has been what I've done for 30 years. But also I do teaching, as you mentioned, and I get to serve for 6 months to fill in on the city council here in Gallatin, and I love that. And I look at leadership as a way to serve God and serve people, because people are the most important thing that we have on planet Earth, and we are made in the image of God. And I think that ties in my motivations and all of the reasons why I want to see our community thrive.
And that's what makes you unique. I think you see your role and what you bring to the community from a vantage point that is very, it is leadership mindset, and how that impacts people and how you can impact people. And so, I would say you are, in my mind at least, pastor first. That's since you're my pastor. Oh yeah,
and I've loved all that you and Al have given to our faith community. So thanks for saying that.
So if that is sort of the foundation, how did that guide you as you engage in civic conversations and decision making, and think about your time on the city council? How does that foundation and that cornerstone for you impact your thoughts and in the way you approach matters?
Yeah, I think Christianity has to impact us personally. If we look at the demographics, this area, a lot of people claim Christianity, and I'm happy for that. Obviously, I've been called to promote this faith, and I believe this faith is an answer to so many of our problems. But then I have to look personally. Is the stuff I teach, the stuff I preach, am I living that? And my short time involved in local government, I was challenged in that area. I would propose to you that if you study the New Testament, most of the New Testament is about relationships. Jesus taught on the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, 6, and 7, mostly about how we relate to one another. Peter, James, and John writing, and Paul writing the epistles. Most of that is about our relationship with one another. And so when we get into this public arena where we're making decisions about building stuff, roads, policy, all of that, I had to remember that even if I disagreed with them, that my battle wasn't against them as a person. It was just a difference of opinion on an idea. And I think my Christian faith really made a difference in that. Not that always was perfect in that time period or even in the scope of my career, but always have a perfect source to go back to, and that is the teachings of Christ and the teachings of Christianity.
That you bring that temperament, and it comes out in everything you do. But I think that was a place for a broader or a different community to witness.
Well, my wife and kids may have a different story because you're making me feel good with these nice compliments, and I am happy to hear that. But hey, we're all just trying to live out our lives and keep improving, making mistakes, getting better. But I see that in public life, in community involvement, are areas that we have to connect our faith to. It's not just about praying before a meeting. Hey, that's a good thing. I'm glad we get to do that. But it's not just praying before a meeting. It's actually living out the Christian values during the meeting, or during the discussion, or during the planning. And I'm not perfect at that. No one is, but we have a standard, and that standard can make our community a better place.
Right. Well, and maybe we've already kind of touched on this with what you've been saying, but when you stepped into the Gallatin City Council role, it was on Eileen George's departure, and that was it was a pretty pivotal moment, and I think an awareness was raised of some of the challenges in serving in local office. There was some pretty harsh treatment that led her to the decision to step aside, and you stepped into that role. And so you had borne witness to it before you stepped into that role, but on reflection, are there some other things, or were there things then that you haven't already mentioned that really can help us restore a healthier discourse?
I believe so. There was a lot to discover during that time. I think that the call to civility is something that we don't emphasize enough. I remember late 80s, early 90s, President George H.W. Bush said, "We need a kinder and gentler nation." And so think about back in that time phrase. I'm not sure if it was 88 election or 92 election, but that was such a relevant phrase at that time, to be kinder and more gentle. Yet, honestly, these last 35 years or so, it doesn't seem like that's occurred. There's different factors for that. And I think that the time that I had on that council, and now I plan to stay involved in more indirect ways, if I have a chance to model civility, and there's a lot of models out there, I saw a lot of people who did demonstrate kindness, respect, listening, empathy as we dealt with public issues. And I think that if we can get back to seeing that as valuable and not a weakness, but a strength, then we're going to pass along something better to the next generation, and we're going to get more stuff done. And I think that's what really matters.
There's a lot of directions I could take that set of comments, because maybe in local government has a different tone to it as well. I think as you were saying those things, I was thinking about the platforms that tend to drive a lot of national policy making, and those arenas are very different, and they just seem to be driving further and further away. So looking for a model, somebody to model the kind of behavior we're looking for, it doesn't seem very achievable there, but locally it does. Locally, it feels like there's an opportunity.
Definitely. And I think there's more models out there if we're looking for them. Yeah. I mean, and I see that there's more good than bad. So the bad is what makes the news, right? The bad is what creates debate on social media. But most of the people I've interacted with in Sumner County and Hendersonville, Gallatin, in my role here, did demonstrate kindness. Now, there was a lack of civility, and I did encounter a significant leader in this community who would not even shake my hand. And wow. And I think that was a sense of dehumanizing me to, in my opinion, to prepare opposition. Because when we can dehumanize someone, and we can say they are bad, not that their idea is bad or I disagree with them, but they are essentially bad, then we have no reason to listen to them. So I did feel that sense of rejection or dismissal is a better way to put that. And I don't think that's appropriate. I think that our country was built, and our state and our city was built on the concept of having friendliness and dialogue and coming to compromise on issues. And that is concerning to me that that's not always celebrated or doesn't seem like a pathway to power. But I think we're in a temporary time, backlash time, and I think that in the future we're going to see more of those qualities emerge as desired leadership.
Oh, I am ever the optimist, so I'm right there with you. I think this is a good segue to one of the things that I know through your teaching at Union University. I think there was a capstone course called Pressing the Pause Button. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Is that
I'm glad you remembered that.
Well, I'd be curious to know what that topic or what that course typically, some of the topics you might have typically covered. But, it certainly says to me that there's an opportunity to press the pause button to pause and think clearly. And that's my hope. That's my optimistic, expectation that that's what we return to. But do you think that's realistic in this era that feels like a lot of instant gratification, a lot of keyboard warrior negativity? Yeah. And so is pressing the pause button an opportunity we have?
Yeah, that is an interesting title. I teach at Union ethics and conflict resolution have been the last few years been my main courses. And this also is somewhat connected to the course you're referring to. The capstone course was a way for graduates to take a moment and reflect on culture itself. And that's what pressing pause meant. But it has transferable qualities that we need to stop and think and respond instead of react. You mentioned the keyboard warriors or social media. I think a big issue with social media is it being so new, we don't really know how to use it yet. In my estimation, 2007, MySpace came out. 2008 is when Facebook exploded. And that, for someone my age, it wasn't very long ago. And we haven't really known how to use Facebook. And I think this is a great guiding principle that I shouldn't type anything that I wouldn't say to your face. And I think that's the artificial power of social media, that people can be bold as they post things, but then they're not willing to talk about it face to face. And this is a challenge to civility. It is a challenge to cooperation. So when we press pause, that applies not only to the title of that course you referenced, but just what we do in our everyday dialogue, and especially in that temptation in social media to be something online we wouldn't necessarily be in person.
It actually triggered a thought here that has never come to mind, that, there's a lot of things that I hope our school system continues to look for opportunities to teach, teamwork and civility and citizenship and these qualities that I think are so important. But now I feel like we need a social media 101.
Yeah, right.
Maybe that's part of what our public education system should be thinking about. Let's just accept the reality that social media is such an but such a prevalent part of our young generation's life.
Young and old. I find grandparents are big on Facebook right now. And so I think we just need to learn to get better. Yeah. And so there have been mistakes. I think I wouldn't, almost any person would say, I wish I wouldn't have posted this or I wouldn't have made this comment. And so being forward thinking is like, now, how can we use this for good? I love being able to stay connected with people I don't have time to normally, but false accusations against public leaders that aren't founded in fact, then that's a destructive way to use social media. And I hope that doesn't increase with intensity. I hope that decreases.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've already given us a lot of these sound bites that I just love, because you really do have a way of kind of pulling these topics together. And I love your Substack. I didn't even know what Substack was until you kept saying, my Substack. I'm like, okay, I got to go figure out what is. But it's a great way. It's a great forum for your blog and for your thoughts. And one not long ago, you had one that was entitled "What Happened to Being a Compassionate Conservative." So I'm going to plug that one here because I feel like that's a great one for someone to go look up Aaron's angle on Substack, and you can go read, short but impactful. And another good example that I want to mention, it was over the holidays last year. You had summarized a post with this comment that God has designed all people to need each other.
Yeah. Well, thanks for reading. And I think the key to having people read things I put online is the word short. So I do keep them short for a reason. But it's always an honor, and anyone who finds it, I'd love for you to read also. But yeah, just to comment on a couple of things you mentioned, that concept of compassionate conservatives. So I can just share kind of my political ideology. I've always been what I considered a political conservative. To me, that's limited government, that's a strong military, that's, being tough on crime, among other things. 25 years ago or so, when George W. Bush ran for president, he talked about we can be compassionate conservatives, meaning we don't have to expand government to still take care of those who are in need around us. And that brought in some innovation with private organizations, with even individuals paying lower taxes so that we could have more money to donate to our church or to a local charity. We know that dollars go further when they're in the hands of individuals instead of the government.
Right.
And so now, can we really help people? And I guess the part that has concerned me in recent years is the wrong message has come out that to be conservative, it means you have to be heartless. Like, anyone that doesn't have some of the same advantages. It's kind of like Darwinism, the survival of the fittest. And I don't think that is the ultimate way we should act. We should take the prosperity and the blessings of freedom and the blessings of a prosperous economy and try to lift other people up, try to take care of needs in our community. It's not the government's responsibility. It should be our responsibility. So anyway, that's just maybe the gist of what I was trying to say in that particular article.
Well, I think it's an easy soundbite. A lot of people say, well, we want to give them a hand up, not a handout. And it sort of frames this concept of being a fiscal conservative, but the compassion is forward in that concept.
Yeah, and we see great things in Sumner County. The different organizations, and the list can go on and on. I can make a long list, but then I would leave out someone I really cared about. But whether it is healthcare, feeding people, educating, giving tutoring, the refugee programs that are here. There is so much good. The education is happening to prisoners.
Right.
On and on and on. And so we can see that there's so much good that's happening because citizens are getting involved. And when government allows citizens to really create and to care about fellow citizens, amazing things happen. And so I'm excited that the conservative movement can reemerge as a caring movement and a compassionate movement.
Amen. That seems so appropriate, sitting here next to you.
How about that?
You see, this is how you do it. You are
preachy there.
No,
that's what we meant.
Did it? It's the perfect balance. So this is why I appreciate our conversation so much, because you have a level of you are a great teacher and you are a great encourager, and so in all of that, I see how you encourage our community to just continue to be a better version of ourselves. I'm not going to even pause because I don't want you to have to respond to me complimenting you again. Back in, I have no idea how long ago it was, but I do know you were the first person that had said to me, you should run for office someday. So,
that's cool.
You were by far the, it caught me off guard when you had even mentioned it to me. So what I took from that conversation long ago is that, you have a perception and you have this ability to encourage and bring forth good ideas. So what do you think are some of the traits that you would look for as people are going to step into the arena? What signals to you that person might be somebody good to serve and represent?
There's so many various qualities, and I think that a variety of people is good. So it is good to have different genders, different races, different ages, all doing public service, and I think that makes us stronger. Of course, this though is put in the hands of the voters. To answer your question, is I think that experience is something that is important. Not to say that people in their 20s can't be great leaders. As you know, our Declaration of Independence was drafted by men in their early 30s, some in their late 20s, and so I certainly think that there's a way for people to engage at an early age to have that experience. But experience, I think intelligence is important, but I think the heart, though, is bigger than all of those things. You know, if you don't have the experience and intelligence, you don't need to be part of that. But that is not the only qualifier. It's the heart to serve. You know, not to say, hey, I want this power for myself, for my benefit, for my dream, but to say, I want to serve the people and make my community a better place. And so I think when those combinations come together, as they often do, then we'll have a variety of good candidates and good people. And you're one of those. And I'm really pleased that was a positive memory of yours, because you've been a great leader at our church, and now you're a great leader in our community. So I'm all for you running for something again. That's just my vote. I'll put her on the podcast.
Oh, great. Yeah. Well, now you're the first person to do that too, but no plans. Okay. That's, I've done my time, but I do look for others now. And I think that's part of maybe the seed you planted in me, that I encourage people when I see that balance of sort of having that business-minded view of things and intelligence that can look at how to. There's a lot to balance when you are going to govern and govern well. You have to approach it from a lot of different angles. So
much, and I think the family value issue. We know that. Okay, people like to see families on the postcards or whatever the case is, but it goes deeper than a photo op. Yeah. The stability of having a family. Now, there are some great legislators who are single, and so I don't want to be prejudicious against single people. We need single people to be involved, but whether you're single or married, that you have stability in your life. And so I think that is so important, because there's so many challenges when it comes to leadership, when it comes to civic leadership. So many, people are always pulling on you, asking you for things. And so to have that also stability in your personal life is so important. That's why character does matter, and character does make a difference.
Well, and maybe this is a perfect segue to lead towards wrapping it up. Maybe share some final thoughts on what you think is needed to leave this place better for the next generation, and maybe particularly timely, since I know there's at least one grandbaby making their way to your household before too much longer.
2026. I'll be a grandfather for the first time, and so it's such a blessing, but it does make you think in new ways. And thinks in terms of legacy. I think about our area, we cannot stop growth. We're attached to really one of the growing metro areas of America, one of the premier areas. And let's face it, Middle Tennessee is awesome to live in. I mean, for so many reasons. I could talk 10 minutes about that or even longer. So we have to be committed to healthy growth. And I know this, is that I want my kids and, now grandkids in the future to desire to live here. A part of that is a strong economy. That's having an opportunity for employment. Part of that is the amenities that we enjoy, things like, the restaurants and the different entertainment venues. And I want this to be a place where we could have healthy growth. And that means sometimes government is moving too fast, and sometimes they're moving too slow. We're always trying to find that balance, and that's why we have a consensus. That's why we have a communal leadership. That's why we have elections that change leaders. So in this healthy growth, that gives us the opportunity for what we all desire, and that is healthy relationships. And so whether it's parks, schools, churches, coffee shops, ice cream shops, walkable streets, those only matter is if you are in great relationships with the people who are there. And so I hope that we continue to see that this is a special community and that we can model for the whole state and nation, civility, cooperation, disagree agreeably, to see our community thrive and to, at the end of it, to like each other.
That's perfect.
Okay.
That's perfect. As you were saying that, it brought me back to some of the things you said at the very beginning. And it is about people and the relationships. And when you get that right, and how important leadership matters, it's one of those phrases that goes over and over in my head. And again, it's something that I've heard you say. And a lot of times I will kind of use it as my litmus test of where are we going and is this right? And in leadership, it really matters. But healthy growth. Thank you for ending on that, because I think that's what we all want. So this has been a joy.
Hey, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks so much, Deanne.
All right.